What is up, guys, and welcome back to another Grimlock video. Today we're going to be going over my tier list for 10.1.5. This is a PvP tier list, and I'm going to be going over my personal opinion of what the best to worst specializations are in PvP, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, feel free to like, subscribe, write a comment down below. I also have a Discord, a Twitter, and a Twitch that I will be streaming on 3 to 4 times per week. You can drop a follow there. And without further ado, let's get into my tier list. I'll see you guys there. Alrighty, so to kick things off, we have our tiers: God, S, A, B, C, D, garbage. I figured I'd expand upon the tier list categories, because I feel like every time I do this I have like 4 categories or 5 categories and stuff just gets too close to put. So this will be a little bit more diverse, and it'll give you a little bit more of an idea of what's going on in the current meta. So let's take a peek here. We are going to be looking at Warrior first. No, I did make this tier list myself. So some of the class specializations are probably swapped around a little bit. It was a little hard to upload all the images, but this one's updated. I updated it with the Augmentation Evoker Ebb and Might ability. I felt like that's probably what they're going to be represented by because it's such a good ability for them. So that's my Augmentation Evoker icon, but we'll get there. So starting things off, we're going to go with Arms Warrior. Arms Warrior is a great specialization in general because of Sharpened Blade MS, and it also has a bunch of ways to stop sub-rogue openers, etc. So I'm probably going to place Arms Warrior around A tier, maybe B tier, but I'm going to start with A tier for now and we'll go from there. The reason why I'm placing it at A tier is Arms is never really like a terrible specialization, but it's a little iffy right now. I wouldn't say it's as good as something like a Boomkin, for instance. Boomkin's just outrageously strong right now. So we got Vengeance Demon Hunter next. Vengeance Demon Hunter is a tank. You know how we feel about that. Straight in the dumpster, baby. Actually, while we're at it, let's just put most of the tanks, if not all the tanks, in the dumpster. So we got Demon Hunter, Monk, Guardian. Guardian actually could be pretty decent, but I hate tanks in PvP, so please don't. Same thing with Prop Pally. Prop Pally is also really good, but we don't talk about it because we hate tanks in PvP. I think that, oh, Blood DK almost snuck by, close, but did not make it. All these specializations shouldn't be played in PvP, in my opinion. You might be able to get away with Prop Pally with something like Prop Pally Fury Warrior right now. I highly suggest against it because I think tanks are the most boring thing you can possibly play in PvP right now. Personal opinion, obviously. I know some people are like die-hard tank fans. Not a fan of it myself. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to stand on tanks, at least for right now. I mean, the thing is, you got to consider Augmentation Evoker, I swear, is probably going to be broken. Purely because if you stack Mastery, it gives versatility with its mastery, and you can get up to like 18% or 20% versatility. It's ridiculous. I hope that's nerfed in PvP, but I really don't think it will be. So when it's coming out tomorrow, Augmentation Evoker is absolutely going to slap people, I can promise you. And it won't even be just the Augmentation Evoker. He's going to buff up his teammate that's going to be like an Enhancement Shaman or something that already one-shots. And imagine an Enhancement Shaman with, you know, boosted primary stat higher than the active primary stat, or the proc primary stat trinket, and 20% verse. Like, it's going to be disgusting. But we'll move on from there. But I'm assuming that tanks will probably be viable purely because of Augmentation Evoker, and then they'll also feed into the fact that Augmentation, or Evokers in general, are kind of squishier as a class. They're like glass cannons. Augmentation's a little tankier than Devastation, and by playing with a tank, like Prop Paladin, for instance, you'll become immortal, and your Prop Paladin will actually do pretty decent damage considering the fact that you're playing Augmentation Evoker. So it's possible that some gimmicky things like that go on. Highly suggest you don't play it, but if you are going to play something scummy, that's your opening. Let's get into it though. Alright, so Demon Hunter, Havoc Demon Hunter, great specialization right now. Just got off of a patch where it was like a bunch of damage buffs. Pretty gross. So we're gonna put, I think we're gonna put it in S tier. I would say it's really good. Specifically because the things that are like godly right now are Boomkin specifically, and like Shadow Priest is pretty good too. Stuff like that plays really well with Havoc Demon Hunter. The problem is sub-rogues are good, and as long as sub-rogues are good, I think Havoc Demon Hunter can always die in like a stun setup. and that's probably why it won't ever be like god tier unless if sub rogue is not god tier. So you know, I feel like if sub rogue stonks are good, Havoc Demon Hunter stonks are bad. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think you guys are catching my drift. Anyways, Shadow Priest. I play Shadow Priest. I love Shadow Priest. I'm gonna place it above Havoc Demon Hunter. It's very good. I don't think it's godly. It is really good though. I don't think it's god spec though. We'll go over god specs in a little bit. Disc Priest. Disc Priest is significantly worse than some of the healers in the game right now. Because it ooms really fast. It runs out of mana. It does have pretty powerful damage reduction cooldowns, which are really nice. But I just don't think it has the throughput healing and sustainability with its mana to actually be anywhere competitive with this, especially because as we're moving forward, we're moving kind of towards like a more dampener meta. Because even with Augmentation Evoker boosting teammates' damage, it's boosting versatility too, right? So when you boost something's versatility, they're also becoming a lot more tankier, right? So you're going to be boosting that as well. I mean, things are going to one-shot either way. It's going to be pretty high-paced, but I have a feeling that Disc Priest won't be able to keep up. Holy Priest, however, I think is going to be able to keep up, and I think Holy Priest stonks are going to go up this patch because they're supposed to be getting some serious, I think, buffs. And from what I hear, specifically from Sidu, he says that he thinks Holy Priest is going to be one of, if not the best healer in the game besides Holy Paladin. So something to think about. Holy Priest is pretty good. You know, you got like Guardian Spirit, which is pretty gross. You can prevent somebody from dying altogether. You have Ray of Hope, where you just make somebody immune to taking damage for like 4 seconds, and you boost the healing done to that person during that time for like 50%. It's pretty gross. You just Ray of Hope into a Holy Word Serenity. Boom, they get full health. Bam, bam, bam. Pretty crazy. Every minute. Kind of gross. Kind of gross. Holy Priest is pretty good. And it's getting buffed, like I said. So Holy Priest will be up here in S tier, I think. It's hard to place it against like, you know, DPS, so I'm going to place it in S tier for now, but I'll probably place these around afterwards. Windwalker, stonks are going up for Windwalker, baby, finally. Not that I play Windwalker, but I feel for you guys. You guys have been in the dumpster with your defensives, and they're finally buffing Karma, and I believe they're buffing Fortifying Brew as well, and maybe Dampen Harm or something like that. I think Dampen Harm is like a really big one. Now the minimum that you can reduce is 30%. It used to be 20%, so that's huge. That means like every minute and a half you have a shield wall, at least, if not more, and your karma's gonna, yeah, Windwalker stonks are way buffed. I'm actually gonna place it for sure above Demon Hunter. It might even be above Shadow Priest. I'm telling you, Windwalker is gonna be disgusting. We just came off an AWC where F tier, you know, Saul and Doritos, crazy good enhancement and Windwalker players, and they were doing fantastic, which is crazy considering this was like prior to these buffs that Windwalker is getting. So Windwalker is going to become more immortal, and Enhance is just going to stick along, trooping big damage. I have a feeling that Augmentation Evoker Windwalker will be a thing as well, because Paralyze and Sleepwalk aren't on the same DR, so you can paralyze somebody into a leg sweep, into a Sleepwalk, it'll be all full, and Augmentation Evoker buffing the Windwalker one-shot, as well as increasing its survivability a little bit. Kind of crazy, guys. I'm telling you, that might be a comp you got to look out for, okay? So that's something to look out for. Mistweaver, I haven't heard much about Mistweaver, I'm not going to lie, guys. I think compared to the other healers in the game right now, Mistweaver is probably going to be low S tier, high A tier, but nowhere near as good as Holy Priest or Holy Pala. So that's where I'm going to place Mistweaver. Mistweaver has good cooldowns, but their cooldowns are like good for specific things, I guess you could say. You got to think Life Cocoon, you can easily swap targets and just blast somebody, so that just completely negates Life Cocoon. If you're, you know, not playing against spread pressure. Revival or Restoral, also a really good button, but the problem is with the Revival and Restoral is that you know, it's like once every minute and a half or once every 2 minutes, and you're like, it's like an AoE lay on hands type of deal, but it doesn't even heal for like lay on hands numbers anymore. It's like 200k and or maybe even 300k. But 300k in an AoE, I mean, it's great. You might top off your team, but you know, if you're rotating your cooldowns, it could be good. But I think Holy Priest is just significantly better in almost every way because of that. Ray of Hope is just like a better life cocoon at this point, and well, kind of. I'll take back my words a little bit, but I think Mistweaver is not as good as Holy Priest. I think it's A tier, probably high A tier. Boomkin is disgusting. This spec needs to be chilled out. It needs to calm down, ladies and gentlemen. This spec is crazy, and it's not even the damage fault. Even though the damage is ridiculously high, I'm gonna be honest, it's high winds. High winds is the most broken garbage ever. You get a Cyclone cast on you. Not only are you in the Cyclone for 8 seconds, well, 7 or 6 seconds or something like that, 6 seconds, but you come out of it, and then you, for 6 more seconds, you're doing 30% healing, 30% less healing, and 30% less damage, which is crazy, guys. I don't think people understand how broken that is. It's like, every single time I cast Clone, it doesn't matter how DR'd it is, you're going to come out in 6 seconds of you coming out of that, you're going to be doing 30% less damage, no matter what you're doing. There's nothing you can do. You can't be dispelled. It's gross. I'm telling you guys, it's disgusting. It's gross. High winds is crazy, and Boomy's single target and spread pressure is gross as well. It works with so many classes that are getting buffed, like Windwalkers, for instance. Oh my god, it's crazy. It works really well with Holy Paladin too, guys. That's kind of scary, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you're talking Blessing of Summer, Boomkin already does a lot of damage. Blessing of Summer comes in, you start hammering in even more damage. You're playing with an Augmentation Evoker as Boomy. Your Boomkin's doing like 180k star surges, bam, bam, bam. You know what I'm saying? They're high windsing people. It is gross, guys. I'm telling you, don't sleep on Boomkin right now. Feral, significantly worse than Boomkin. Not bad, but significantly worse than Boomkin. I'm going to place it in B tier under Arms Warrior, specifically because it doesn't have an MS effect. I think if Feral had an MS effect, it would be a lot better. The problem with Feral having an MS effect is I think it would be really gross, like kind of too gross. It does really high, like it depends on what build you have. If you have like the Ferocious Bite build, pretty gross. If you have the like the Bleed build, it's kind of good, but I just don't. I mean, why play Feral when you could just play Boomkin? I mean, obviously, unless if you're a Cat main, which is perfectly fine. You know, I respect you out there too, but it isn't that great of a spec. It might even be B tier. I'm actually gonna put it in B tier. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I wouldn't say it's great. It has decent survivability. It can stop a Sub-Rogue's opener, but only if it waits for the Sub-Rogue to open. It's kind of bad. I think Boomy's just significantly better. Fury Warrior, I know this got messed up, by the way, guys. I'm sorry. I made this, and I have no clue. This is the first time I ever made a tier list. So Fury Warrior, it's good. I can't tell if it's better than Arms or not. And purely because I haven't played against a lot of Arms Warriors. I played against a decent amount of Fury Warriors, and Fury Warriors are good. They have a lot of cooldowns that can, like, keep them in the fight for a long period of time, but their cooldowns are long. So once you get through those cooldowns, they're kind of just like, they just do damage. They don't really have a lot of defensive capability unless if you're just sitting in D stance the whole time. And if you're sitting in D stance the whole time, you don't get that Berserker stance and you're not doing a significant amount of damage, but pretty good. Their Mortal Strike effect is crazy. Slaughterhouse is insane. Really annoying to deal with as Shadow Priest, I'll tell you firsthand, because if you get down to like 80k health versus a Fury Warrior and you go to Disperse, your Disperse won't heal you for anything practically, because Slaughterhouse is like a 36% MS and it's up for like 20 seconds. It's unreal. It's crazy, but it's not that great. It's good. I think I'm just going to place it a little above Arms right now. I'm not too sure on this though, so don't quote me on this one, guys. I'm not a big Fury. I'm not a Warrior guy, and I don't play with a lot of Warriors, but I think Fury is really good. But I don't think it's not better than like Windwalker after the buffs. I'm telling you, Windwalker is going to be crazy after the buffs. Resto Druid. Resto Druid's a great spec. Resto Druid is really bad at dealing with picking up multiple people at like a low health percentage, and with specializations like Boomkin and Shadow Priest and Havoc Demon Hunter being so good, it kind of dampens Resto Druid stonks. I'm going to place Resto Druid a little under Mistweaver, I think. This just goes to show you though how bad Disc Priest is going to be after this patch, because Disc Priest won't be able to pick people up without ooming. And if the game goes, it depends on how good Augmentation Evoker is, honestly. If Augmentation Evoker is crazy strong, the games aren't going to last long. And if the games don't last long, Disc Priest will actually be good, because Disc Priest can't last long. It has to end games in like 4 minutes. Or it ooms and then everybody dies. But it has good cooldowns to rotate through, but it just ooms. So I think Disc Priest will be good if Augmentation Evoker happens to be bad. And if Augmentation Evoker happens to be great, like I think it's going to be, Disc Priest will be bad. That's where I'm leaving at that. But anyways, Resto Druid, I think, is a little bit less than Mistweaver, but better than Disc Priest. And the reason being is Resto Druid, it depends how good you are at Resto Druid. Resto Druid has a ridiculously high skill cap for what it is. And you have to just be able to keep your hots up on multiple targets at the same time. If you have them up on one target, you got to be able to, like, I think it's called Genesis or something like that. I don't know. I'm so Overgrowth. You got to OG onto a team. No, what is it? It's something. But either way, you can apply all your hots to the target. You got to be able to swap stuff around like that to play Resto Druid well. It's really hard to play Resto Druid, though, so I'll let you guys know that. If this is the first time you're like looking at this tier list, you're like, what should I play? What should I get into for the first time? I highly suggest you don't play Resto Druid, because it is a very high skill cap healer. I would much rather think you should get into something like Holy Priest, because it's not too hard to play Holy Priest at first for a decent player. Ret Paladin. Ret Paladin is a good spec. It's still good from its buffs and the like rework. It's pretty solid. It does really high damage. We've seen in AWC Drake is playing Retribution. Shadow Priest, it's pretty good. I have a feeling it's okay. I don't think it's gonna be anything crazier than what it is right now. I'm gonna place it right in between the warrior specs, just because most people play Ret Warrior, and Ret Warrior works so well together, but separated, it's a little suspect at best. I think Retribution plays really well with Hunters, but Hunters stonks might not be doing too well. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think they're great right now, because when casters are really good, it's really hard to play like Hunters. I know that sounds stupid, because Hunters tend to beat casters, but if you're playing 2 casters on a team, like a caster cleave, Hunters will just die. They just rot. It is very hard to keep a Hunter alive versus 2 casters if the casters are doing a good job at kiting and peeling and destroying pets and all that stuff. It is very hard for a Hunter to do anything. Hunters are actually pretty good into melee, where they can kite for a long time, because kiting as a Hunter is super easy. But either way, Holy Paladin, this is another god spec. I'm telling you guys, these buffs and this rework for Holy Paladin is going to be filthy. So if you don't have a Holy Paladin friend, or you aren't a Holy Paladin yourself, you might want to look into getting a Holy Paladin friend, or being a Holy Paladin, because they are really good. I think this patch, they're going to be insane. They might need to tune them down really quickly, because I think they're going to just live forever. I know that sounds silly. I do know they still, though. They can still. They didn't change much about their mana, but they actually heal for ridiculous numbers. Like, you can just top people off back to back to back. They have really good cooldowns to rotate through. They've always had really good cooldowns to rotate through, but their healing is just trash right now, so they're buffing that. So I think Holy Paladin will be gross. At least that's my assumption right now. If it isn't gross, Holy Priest will just be... You'll just reverse these two, because Holy Priest will be up here, Holy Paladin will be probably down here still. But either way, that's kind of how that is. Ellie Shaman, I love Ellie Shaman, baby. I mean, if you watch the EU AWC, Zeepai has been popping off on this class. I mean, popping off. I mean, he's kind of getting dominated by Echo, but still, it's a very good spec. I'm telling you guys. For ladder play, Elemental Shaman's very good. It's super tanky. With Augmentation Evoker, I could see Ellie Augmentation Evoker being pretty gross. You can probably get some crazy one-shots with your Lava Burst and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to place Ellie low S tier. It might be high A tier, because the other specializations in the game are so strong. Yeah, I'm going to place it high A tier. It's a good spec. It's really tanky. It does a lot of damage. It does what a DPS should do. Enhancement, this class, man, it does way too much damage. It does insane damage, and it's so easy to just get off the damage. You guys play the... It's an honor talent that allows you to basically, every time you storm strike, it shoots off lightning bolts. Now, the thing with Enhancement Shaman is every single time you press Storm Strike, you have a 7% chance to reset the cooldown of Storm Strike per like ability that you cast, right? So that includes heals as well, I think. And so that's why people cast Chain Heal as a shaman. At least I think. Don't quote me on this. And then they play the PvP talent that every single time you Storm Strike, you shoot off 2 lightning bolts or you Chain Lightning. When you do that, every single instance of damage you do with those Chain Lightnings and the Lightning Bolt has a chance to reset the cooldown of Storm Strike, so you could just do it again. So it's like 21% really every single time you press Storm Strike that you're going to reset the cooldown, and that's how the Storm Strike build works, and that's why Enhancement Shaman is absolutely insane. Sorry to give you a little breakdown, but Enhancement's crazy. So I think Enhancement is probably a little under Havoc Demon Hunter, purely because Enhancement Boomy is really hard to play compared to Boomy Demon Hunter. And same thing with like Windwalker Boomy, crazy good. Windwalkers are going to be super strong. Yeah, I think this is where I'm going to place Enhancement. It's very good. It's very good, but it doesn't do... It relies too heavily on its burst. I think its consistent damage is not high enough, but its burst numbers are absolutely disgusting, and you can kill an entire team in a single Ascendance, which is crazy. So yeah, that's where I'm going to place Enhancement. Resto Shaman. I haven't heard much about Resto Shamans, but I don't think they're great. I don't think they're going to be amazing. I think they're going to probably be better than Mistweaver. Less than Ellie for sure. Maybe Mistweaver's better, actually. It's funny because this grouping last year, I think, yeah, these classes are better than Resto Druid for sure. I think this is where I'm going to put it for right now. Resto Shaman is good. It has great cooldowns. It can rotate through things pretty easily. Not too bad at all. So realistically, Resto Shaman's not terrible, but in comparison to the above specializations like Mistweaver, Holy Priest, Holy Paladin, it doesn't have buttons it can press while stunned, which is something that I believe Holy Priest can press Guardian Spirit while stunned, and Mistweaver can press Life Cocoon while stunned. And if they can't press it while... No, they can definitely press it while stunned. But even if they can't, they can press Restore while stunned. And Holy Paladin has stuff to get out of stuns, like Blessing and Protection. It also has, you know, what's it called? Bubble, obviously. So it has stuff like that to get itself. It has a lot of utility, whereas Shaman can't really get it, can't do anything while in stuns, which is a super big danger when you're fighting sub-rogues, and sub-rogues will still be good this patch, I promise you. It's very possible that sub-rogue Augmentation Evoker becomes a thing, because sub-rogue secret tech can do like 300k damage in a single instance. And if you have that Temporal Wounds from Augmentation Evoker up on your target, it's going to do 300k, 20% of that is 60k, and then it does a crit, so it's you know, 120k extra damage on top of that 300k, and that's just secret tech alone from Augmentation Evoker, not to mention the Augmentation Evoker's damage. You could probably one-shot somebody with Temporal Wounds, and there's really not much they can do about it, I don't think, as long as you have Sub-Rogue and Augmentation Evoker, and you set up your damage right. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to 100-0 somebody and just kill them outright, and there's nothing they can do about it. But if that's not the case, I might be wrong. But that's where it's scary for Resto Shaman, because Resto Shaman can just die in a single cheap shot at that point. And that's the problem, because, you know, the other classes, like I said, Bubble, Guardian Spirit, Life Cocoon, will protect you through that damage. Resto Shaman, not the case. So that's why I'm placing it there. Also, we have Devastation Evoker here. Devastation Evoker, sadly, is just, I think it's bad. I think Augmentation Evoker is just going to be the new king. I think anytime you can play Devastation Evoker, Augmentation Evoker is just going to be better. I know that sounds silly because Devastation Evoker does a significant amount more burst, I think, because of their mastery. But the amount of damage you're going to be providing, you're boosting your teammates damage-wise, you're like actually losing out on damage if you go Devastation over Augmentation. Now, if you're doing like Battlegrounds and like messing around with your friends, Devastation will be fine. But in competitive PvP, like actual 3v3 arenas, and you're trying to push rating, I think Augmentation is just a move. So I'm going to place Devastation in C tier, sadly, even though this spec is super fun to play. Preservation Evoker, another great healer. I'm going to place Preservation Evoker under Holy Priest. I think it's good, but it's not as good as Holy Priest because of the Holy Priest buffs. Another class that can do stuff while stunned, etc., because of Emerald Communion. Super gross, really good ability, but you have to time it well. And it also has Rewind. So say you get hit by an Augmentation Evoker's flyover effect, like the deep breath that they have, and you get temporal wounds, and you get hit by the temporal wounds when the effect ends, and you take a bunch of damage. You can just rewind and rewind it all. Pretty good. It's good to sustain at least. And so I think Preservation Evoker will be probably one of the better classes to play into Augmentation Evoker. But yeah, they're good. So they're pretty good. I think these two specs you'll have no problem with playing. But if you want to just cheese and just do endless everything, I think Holy Paladin's just going to be your guy. God spec, we already know, baby. Augmentation's at the top of the charts, baby. Augmentation is king of the crop right now, at least from what I see, at least what I can tell. I think it's going to be kind of gross. It should be pretty good, and well, pretty good is an understatement. I think it's going to be almost necessity. It's going to be Ret Paladin rework first week sketchy. But I do think if it is broken, I give Blizzard, they will hotfix its damage down, and they will hotfix stuff. So if you want to cheese stuff and you want to grind out like your weapon enchant, like your illusion, like 2100.
Charge complete.
Sorry about the freaking headset charge complete noise. Augmentation Evoker is your guy. You can just Augmentation Evoker, Boomkin, Holy Pally, and probably just kill everything in sight. Though who knows? I might be completely wrong on this, but this is just my guesstimate for 10.1.5. It seems a little crazy, but I think it's accurate. One thing that I do note about Augmentation Evoker that I don't think enough people are talking about is Augmentation Evoker does not have the talent in their tree that reduces Deep Breath's cooldown, or their version of Deep Breath, down to 1 minute, whereas Devastation does have 1 minute. So when you're playing Evoker with a Death Knight, the reason why Evoker Death Knight is so good is because every single minute their goes are ridiculously strong. Augmentation Evoker will not have these 1 minute goes that are ridiculously strong. It's going to have one go that's crazy strong, and then for 2 minutes they're not going to have their temporal wounds. They're going to be doing consistent damage because of Ebon Might, obviously, but the 1 minute deep breath goes for Devastation are what makes it really good, in my opinion. Now I will say deep breath has gotten significantly nerfed. It only does like 50k damage every single time it ticks, compared to like it used to do like 80k damage or something like that every single time it ticks. So it does like 200k to everybody that you hit, and then you like throw in the Dragon Rage Fire Breath, and it's kind of like game over. You just do like 400k damage and 2 globals. But you can do that every minute with Deep Breath. You can't do the Fire Breath, but you can do the Deep Breath, and it's pretty gross, right? But you can't do that with Augmentation, and you don't have Eternity Surge, which is one of the reasons why Devastation Evoker just destroys everything in sight. So the consistent damage of an Augmentation Evoker is not going to be as strong as the consistent damage of a Devastation Evoker, hands down. I can promise you that. I think the consistent damage of an Augmentation Evoker relies on your teammates being able to do damage, and you just provide them buffs and keep them alive and keep yourself alive and just basically be an extra support class. But that is where it becomes really good, because if you have basically 2 healers on your team, for instance, just per se, and one of the healers makes you do a ridiculous amount of damage, and one of the healers makes you immortal, you're just bound to just play with the highest DPS class in the game, like Windwalker, Boomy, or Havoc Demon Hunter, or an Enhancement Shaman, and you're going to do fine, because you're just going to kill everything on sight every single time you have buttons. So as long as you're rotating cooldowns, Augmentation Evoker is going to be broken, hands down. There's no way that it's not. BM Hunter is going to be good. I mean, BM Hunter's consistent damage is good. It provides an MS effect, so it can play with things like Ret Paladin. It can play things like Enhancement Shaman. They call that Beast Cleave. If you haven't played Enhancement Shaman Hunter before, it's actually a really underrated comp right now. People are playing Hunter Boomkin on EU. I saw that. I forget whose team it was. I know the Boomkin's name is Tony, but I forget the rest of the team's name. I'm sorry for that team. But they're super good. So I mean, they're the only ones that are playing it, to be fair, and they're playing like Hunter Boomy. But either way, you can play Hunter Boomy. But BM is pretty good. So I'm gonna actually place BM. Man, that's hard. I think I'm gonna place it above Ret. No, I'm gonna place it under Ret, but above Arms Warrior. I feel like I can't tell if Fury Warrior or Arms Warrior is better, but either way they swap positions here. So somebody that plays Warrior, you can slap me in a comment and be like, Arms Warrior is just significantly better, or you're right, Dan, maybe Fury Warrior is crazy. You know, who knows? I don't know. But either way, I think that's where it is. That's where I'll place BM. Marksman is... I think Marksman stonks are going up, and here's why, ladies and gentlemen. When you put in an Augmentation Evoker, or Evokers in general, they have the worst defensive cooldowns to deal with getting hit for like 400k damage instantly, and that's what Marksman specializes in, with Sniper Shot, Kill Shot, Aim Shot, Rapid Fire. Pretty much every button they press is just going to do like 30 to 40% of your health. And and so when Augmentation Evoker is at the top, right, I think you're going to struggle as a marksman, or you're going to do fine as a marksman. The problem is when Holy Paladin's at the top, you're going to struggle as a hunter, because when Holy Paladin's at the top, landing traps going to be very hard, because every time you land a trap, there's a chance that the Paladin just Blessing of Sacrifices, and for the entire duration of Blessing of Sacrifice, you can't trap the Paladin, because anytime you hit the teammate with the sacrifice up, the trap will break. You can't root the Paladin like out of line of sight, because they just Blessing of Freedom themselves. You can't do pretty much any of your crowd control that you're going to do on a healer versus a Holy Paladin. Holy Paladin is, like, in my opinion, like the hunter counter. Also, if you're planning to do big damage as a marksmanship hunter, Blessing of Protection exists. Now, Blessing of Protection can be dispelled with Tranquilizing Shot, but it will still stop a significant amount of damage. So if they're about to hit you with like a Sniper Shot and an Aim Shot proc, you can Blessing of Protection right as soon as the Sniper Shot's about to go off, and it'll immune it, and then, you know, the hunter's going to be upset, and it'll be sad. So I think Marksmanship Hunter isn't going to be great because of Holy Paladin, but it'll be good into anything that an Augmentation Evoker plays with outside of Holy Paladin. So if an Augmentation Evoker is playing with, say, a Holy Priest or like a Mistweaver or something, you might have a great day as Marksmanship Hunter. So I'm going to place it above Ret, and it's iffy. I think Marksman will be better than BM, but it's hard to say because BM's consistent damage is higher, Marksmanship's burst is higher. Marksmanship doesn't normally play with a pet, whereas BM does, so you don't get the MS effect. But if you play with a teammate that has MS, like a Fury Warrior, it's not too bad. Or a Rogue that has Wound Poison, for instance, like Sub-Rogue, pretty good. Or a Psy Fiend, or something like that, you can probably get away with. Also, Windwalker Marksmanship Hunter might be kind of crazy. You never know. So I'm going to place Marksmanship there. I think it's a pretty safe bet that it'll be right in this area. And Survival Hunter, same thing. Very good class, very good specialization. It does damage from range with its bombs. It does pretty good damage with Mongoose Bite. Its Kill Shot and Explosive Shot do a significant amount of damage compared to the other specializations because of some of the talents that they can pick. So I think its kill windows can be really strong. I feel like if you're playing Survival Hunter Sub-Rogue, you can probably get away with some pretty crazy things. Also, Survival Hunter Enhancement Shaman, I don't know why nobody is playing this spec, that combination, because I think that's pretty gross. I'm not going to lie. Imagine a Bloodlusted Survival Hunter. You get Explosive Shotted, right? And then you get hit by that Storm Blast. Boom, massive damage. And then the Kill Shot comes in, and then the Explosive Shot explodes right at the end. You're going to take like 700k damage in a single global, and it's going to be really hard to deal with. So I'm surprised that's not played more, honestly, especially because as Survival, you can get a MS pet. And I think Survival is just better than Warrior in most circumstances at this point right now. The only time it's not is when you're dealing with casters, maybe. And even then, that's a maybe, because Feign Death is really good versus casters. Also, you know, there is an honor talent they have. I think it's not Misdirection. It's something that works with Misdirection, but it allows your pet to basically become a grounding totem for 3 spell casts, which is kind of crazy. I don't know why nobody's talking about it. It's a really good talent. Something like that, basically. So either way, you know, you have that as your hunter. So I think Survival is better than Warrior right now, and not enough people are talking about it because a lot of people are playing the easier specs, mainly BM Hunter. But I think Survival, if you practice it and get good at it, watch Bicmex X, crazy Bicmex, freaking the EU AWC Survival Hunter god himself, Bicmex. He's insane. He's really good. Watch him if you want to learn Survival Hunter. He's crazy. Affliction Warlock is kind of trash. I'm not gonna lie. It's probably a little bit above Feral. It does really good damage, but its damage can be stopped just through mass dispels and stuff like that. Also, with Holy Paladin becoming higher up in the ranks, I think Holy Paladin has a way better way of dealing with spread pressure because they have 2 beacons of light. You know, you can beacon of light one target, beacon of faith the other target. Just spam heal yourself, heal everybody for massive amounts. And also they get that shield absorb when they drop below 30% health. Boom, you get the shield from beacon of light. It's crazy hard to deal with Holy Paladin's ability to heal multiple targets at once. So I think Affliction Lock is going to be B tier. Demo Lock will be good. It will be better than Shadow Priest in my opinion. It's going to be good. I mean, if you haven't watched the AWC, I mean, like Waz has been crazy good with it, as like Chanimal plays Demo Hunter for their team. They play Demo Hunter, or Demo Hunter, Jesus dude. Demo Lock Boomy, and Demo Lock Boomy is crazy good, at least when Waz and Chanimal play it. They're insane at it. Shadow play, you know, we saw Golden Guardians take out the Shadow play. They had Demo, Shadow Priest, pretty good. Jellybeans was killing it on Demo Lock. Shout out to him, crazy good player. So yeah, I'm gonna place Demo Lock in high S tier. I think it's really good. It has an MS effect. It has a Tyrant that just basically becomes a combustion mage that just slaps everybody. It's pretty strong. Destro Lock I think will be significantly worse, but it'll be better than Aflock, but not as good as Arms Warrior. I think it's going to be here. Now, Destro Lock is good. It does really good damage with Chaos Bolts. It's really hard to deal with. But, again, the only thing that's good about Destro Lock in this patch is Resto Shaman stonks are going down because Holy Paladin stonks are going up. And when Resto Shamans are bad, Destro Locks are good. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the only thing that's not good for Destro Locks is Enhancement Shamans are getting better because the classes they play with are getting better. Also, they just do one-shot damage, so anything that's, like I said, anything that one-shots is going to play well with Augmentation Evoker. And so it's going to be hard to play Destro Lock in this meta, in my opinion. You might as well just play Demo Lock and just cast pets from behind a pillar, or just cast pets in general at anything and just start slaughtering everybody in sight. Pretty gross spec. But yeah, Destro's, I'm going to say, is around here. Arcane Mage, another hidden gem, pretty good, but not great. I would say Arcane Mage is probably maybe a little bit better than Feral. In the right hands, it's disgusting. Cubsy, shout out to Cubsy. Jungle Jape, you know what I'm saying? Crazy player. Arcane Mage is really good. Numbing, also. Numbing, Arcane, crazy. Shout out to him, too. Really good, though. Arcane Mage can be good in the right hands, but traditional mage specs like Fire and Frost are way easier to come into and way easier to play on the like day-to-day basis. So climbing ladder and climbing ranks with Fire and Frost will just be easier naturally than playing Arcane. Arcane isn't bad, though. It has a very high burst window, and that is going to play really well with Augmentation Evoker. But the problem is setting up your damage for Arcane is going to be much harder than the other Mage specs. Now, I will say Mage is getting a pretty big rework this patch, so it's possible that Arcane is actually pretty broken, but I haven't seen any Arcane gameplay. All I've seen is Fire and Frost, really. So I'm going to say Arcane is here, but it could be S tier, possibly. I have no clue. I do know that Fire Mage is probably around Elemental Shaman in terms of good. It is very strong with this new patch and this rework. It does do a pretty significant amount of damage, I would say. And it also... The only problem with Fire Mage is it relies too heavily on Glass Cannon, and Glass Cannon significantly reduces your health. 20% reduction is crazy. You know, full geared Fire Mages are in the 400k range, and with classes like Windwalker and Enhancement doing really well, if you connect with a Fire Mage as Windwalker, they're going to die like that, like crazy fast. Especially with, like I said, with Augmentation Evoker buffing their damage even more, it's going to be a very scary situation for Fire Mages. Definitely Glass Cannon in every sense of the word. It will do significant amount of damage, but it will be super easy to kill. So if you're good at kiting as Mage, like Aegis is, and like some other players are also really good, obviously. But Aegis is one that comes to mind when you think of mages in general. He's really good at Fire Mage, and yeah, Fire Mage is pretty gross. So we're gonna leave it in I would say under Ellie. The thing with Fire Mage, like I said though, is it dies. So it could be C tier for the average player, but it could be A tier for somebody that's really good. Now, Frost Mage is a little bit more forgiving. It does a little bit less damage, maybe, with the rework. They kind of are crazy. Like, I've seen Glacials hit for, like, almost 300k and some kind of cool stuff like that, so I'm curious to see how it'll play with the rework. But I don't think it's much better or much worse than Fire. Again, I feel like they're always pretty tied. You do a pretty good amount of AoE cleave on both specs because Ignite spread, and also because, you know, Icy Veins. Ice Lance does a pretty good amount of spread pressure right now, especially with the Frozen Orb build. You can just toss a Frozen Orb, spam Ice Lance, and do like 90Ks back to back. Pretty gross, pretty fun. But yeah, rework wise, I'm gonna say that the Fire Mage and Frost Mage are here, probably high A tier. I wouldn't consider them S tier because the classes in S tier are just so stacked right now. And the classes that are stacked right now are pretty good into Mage, in my opinion. Like, I think Enhancement Shaman is low-key good into Mage. I know a lot of people will think otherwise, but having Wind Shear and having Grounding and having the ability to reconnect to your target constantly and get yourself out of roots and heal other teammates and stuff like that makes Enhance really good. The only reason why Enhance kind of gets outshined by Mage most of the time in that 1v1, well, 1v1, but in the 3v3, is because a lot of times Mages are playing with Rogues, and Rogues absolutely dumpster on Enhancement Shaman, and Rogues can keep Enhancement Shaman locked down, which is what a Mage needs. But if there is no Rogue, so say you're playing Shadow Priest Mage, like God Comp, it's going to be really hard for you to deal with an Enhancement Shaman, I'm telling you, unless if the Enhance isn't very good at line of sighting and stuff like that. But either way, got a little off topic there, sorry. Fire Mage is pretty good. Frost Mage is pretty good. Moving on to Death Knight. Oh, man. Dude. Frost, please, man. Please. Give this spec some life, dude. Blizzard, I'm begging you. I know you're like, here's some consistent damage. That's what you wanted, right? Kind of. But you destroyed our burst now. So our burst is like wet noodles. Like, what are you guys doing? What are you thinking with this spec? Yes, in PvE, I get it. Top of the charts, crazy good spec in PvE, does massive amount of AoE damage, but Breath of Sindragosa does literally 40k damage in an AoE and stuns for like 3 seconds. But in PvE, it does like 300k, so of course it's going to top charts, dude. Breath of Sindragosa is insane in PvE, but it's so nerfed in PvP, it's trash. This is why Frost DK will always be bad, because its main burst ability is garbage in PvP. So please, Blizzard, if you watch this video, if any of you developers watch this video and get this far in the video, please, for the love of God, fix this spec. It is so bad right now. I mean, it's bad in like a bad way, because it's like you rely so heavily on your burst windows, and your burst isn't even as good as other classes, dude. It's just going to be worse than Windwalker. I might as well play Windwalker Evoker. Now, the only reason why Frosty K is good is because I can grip everybody into a grouping and keep them there for the Evoker to do stuff with, or any class to do stuff with. So you might see Frosty K Windwalker, but the only reason why the Frosty K is good is because he's gripping him into the Windwalker's damage. The Frosty K is doing nothing but crowd controlling, dude. I'm telling you, this spec is garbage. Worst spec by far in the game, in my opinion. Maybe a little bit better than Devastation Evoker, because Augmentation Evoker kind of claps it. Like, Augmentation Evoker is just better. Moving on to Unholy, though. Unholy is getting crazy buffs, guys. Unholy is really, it's going to be good. I'm going to place it over Enhancement. It is very good. The buffs it's getting, Death Coils are going to be able to hit for over 100k. I can tell you that right now. Its spread pressure is going to be gross. It does a ridiculous amount of like dot damage. It's going to be a nasty spec. It'll be pretty crazy, and I can almost guarantee it that you will see Unholy DK Augmentation Evoker Holy Paladin. You will also see Unholy DK Windwalker Holy Paladin, which is Walking Dead, and Holy Paladin is the traditional healer for that comp, and with Holy Paladin being so good, it will be a very good composition. So I think you'll see that a lot. You'll also probably see the return of DH Unholy DK, which we saw a lot of in the very first like patch of Dragonflight, and also like all of last expansion. So yeah, I think Unholy is going to be gross. Please, Blizzard, buff Frost. I'm telling you, buff it in a good way. Stop buffing it in like stupid ways. All right, on Outlaw Rogue, guys, another spec just in the dumpster. It is the worst spec in the game by far. And the reason being is it does actual noodle levels of damage. Even in PvE, it does terrible damage. Like, there is no redeeming factor for Outlaw other than the fact it looks cool because you're slapping everything in the room with 2 swords. But, ladies and gentlemen, just play Fury Warrior, okay? I'm just telling you. If you're gonna play Outlaw Rogue, just play Fury Warrior. You're way better off. Outlaw Rogue is in the dumpster. It's in the gutter. I might even place it in D tier. That's how bad this spec is. I think Outlaw Rogue needs a heavy rework, and it should be coming hopefully the next patch, like 10.1.7 or something like that. I'm praying. But Outlaw Rogue is really bad. Moving on. Sub Rogue, pretty good. Pretty good still. I think it is probably going to be here. And the reason being is I think the buffs to Windwalker actually make it live Sub-Rogue. Every spec above Sub-Rogue on the tier list right now can live a Sub-Rogue on its own, whereas all the specs under Sub-Rogue right here, besides maybe Unholy DK, will die to a Sub-Rogue if the Sub-Rogue forces all cooldowns and has all its burst back. Now, that's very situational, okay? But, yeah, Sub-Rogue can just instantly kill everything except for all the specs above it. And the only reason why Windwalker is above it is because of the defensive buffs it's getting. So if the defensive buffs for any reason get nerfed, like if they take back the Karma Change, if they take back the Fortifying Brew, if they take back the Dampen Harm or anything like that, it is not good at all. Like, Windwalker will get slaughtered. Its burst is really high, which is gross, and its damage is going to be really good, which it already is, but its survivability now will compete with some of these classes, hopefully. So that's what we want to see, because realistically, if you like touch a Karma somebody, before it was 50%, now it's going to be 70%, so it's going to absorb a little bit more damage, but people are kind of blowing that out of the water. I think you'll still kill through Karma. I think the biggest change is the Dampen Harm change, where it's going from the minimum amount of damage reduction, it's 20% to 30%, which is what's going to place it above Sub-Rogue and stuff like that, because you can just Dampen Harm a Sub-Rogue's opener, and you won't die. It's just gonna keep you alive. Just Dampen Harm alone. A lot of the mistakes that happen with Windwalkers, they trinket Karma, and Karma doesn't save you from Sub-Rogue's damage. Dampen Harm does. Okay, so yeah, play that right. Assassination Rogue. We have Assassination. The last spec of the game. I think Assassination's pretty good. The specializations here work decently with it. I don't really think anything's gonna play with it better than a Sub-Rogue though, sadly. So I'm gonna place it under arms. Now, I'm a little iffy on this because, yeah, no, definitely under arms. Yeah, what am I thinking? Assassination Rogue's definitely going to be under arms. It could be lower, technically. It depends what healer you're playing. If you're queuing into Holy Paladin every single day of the week, Assassination is going to be completely non-existent. Because every single time you go to press your death mark, it's going to get bopped off, and there's nothing you can do about it. There goes your entire burst. Now, good Assassination Rogue players don't need Deathmark to do crazy amount of damage. Just look at Drake in NA. Crazy good Assassination Rogue player. He does like 50k DPS. But, you know, it's all just dot damage, and it's all stuff that can be negated. So I think Assassination Rogue, it's fair to say that it'll be worse than all these specs above it. And it'll be better than the specs under it because it's just better versions of those. Like, it rots better than Affliction. It rots better than Feral. It does more damage consistently than Destrolock, and it doesn't require setups like Destrolock does. It's just better than all these specs. So I think this is my tier list, guys. I know this is a super long video. This is a really long tier list thing, but I wanted to get it right and locked in for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I think I'm pretty accurate on this. Yeah, I think this is where I would place everything. I don't think there's anything I would change. And as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment below if you disagreed with any of these things. But I think these classes are just absolutely disgusting, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, these classes are crazy right here. These top 3 are going to be really good come tomorrow. So I hope you guys have a good patch, and I'll see you guys in the arena, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.